You're watching ICENET, independently covering New York Islanders hockey past and present, bringing you the tradition and nostalgia you know and love with a modern feel. This is where Islanders tradition and pride are always our number one. Built by passion for the orange and blue. Isles coverage. Taking a step into the future by reaching into the past. ICENET. Dynasties live here. ICENET. Dynasties live here.
These are the faces that line the halls of hockey history. Chiseled, unflinching. Beneath their gaze burns a quiet rage. Without them, there would be no miracles on ice, no moments to last a lifetime, and no small-town boys who grew into legends.
Well, you know, when you're up north, that's all you have to do is to play hockey or sports. Baseball, football, hockey, whatever it is.
Behind this working-class house in the northern Ontario hard rock mining town of Sudbury, the hockey roots run deep.
We started a little rink in the back of our yard. There was a creek, Nolan Creek. We used to, so we built the rink there, and we put some, when the creek would freeze, we'd dig a hole in the ice and get the water pails and flood it by water with the water pails and all that. And the firemen got a hold of it, and the following year they were doing it once a week for us. So we used to, that's how we started playing hockey in our own rink. And on weekends we played the sons against the dads, and the dad used to just whomp us pretty good. And after a few years we were whomping them pretty good. I think I had the dream when I started going to Sacred Heart College. It was a high school, and they had a real good hockey team. And then before that, I was playing for Holy Trinity, and we had a great club. We didn't lose a game for something like 3 years. And a lot of the guys played in the NHL from that team. And I think that's when I got the bug to play in the National Hockey League, was there. It's a little different today than it was in those days, but my wife's place, she lived on the wrong side of the tracks, I tell you that. I lived in the poor section. She says she lived in the poor section, and so you know, I keep telling her she belonged to Notre Dame, which was all the snobs. And we were Saint Jean-Brébeuf, where all the toughies were. And, but, you know, we argue about that all the time. And she's quite a gal, let me tell you. I'm very fortunate.
When you broke in, there's only 6 teams in the NHL. Talk about, from a player's perspective, surviving, keeping a job, because your career was about that for a long time.
Well, I mean, when I started playing with the Red Wings, I mean, the manager, everybody was scared of each other. They were scared to get hurt, because in those days, you could have kept the 4 or 5 top players on the team and brought the whole Farms Club up, and never would have changed a bit. Nothing would have changed. So, you know, if somebody really got hurt, you didn't want to get hurt because you didn't want to tell anybody, because you'd lose your job and you never get it back sometimes. I remember my partner was Red Kelly. He was an all-star defenseman. He had a broken foot. And we're in Montreal, and we're walking down the street, and Red says, "I can't stand anymore, I got to sit down." I says, "Red," and I looked at his foot, it was all swollen. I says, "You got to go to the doctor here in Montreal. Let's go to the trainer." I know the guy very well. So we went over there, he sent to the doctor. He got an x-ray and he put his foot in the cast. It was broken. He played on it for 2 weeks, a broken foot. He was scared to lose his job, and he was an all-star.
What did that cup mean to you? The first one, the first time you had your name engraved?
Well, it's something that's really unbelievable, you know, when you think back the upbringing I had in Sudbury, Ontario, and things like that, and dreaming about the cup and winning the cup. You just couldn't believe it. You kept pinching yourself every morning to find out, is this true? Am I really in here or what? Or, you know, am I part of this or what? It's really something that you can't really understand.
Al's long career path belied his abilities. He forged a lengthy NHL career when few could make it. Along the way, Al crossed paths with the greats of the game, including Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe, maybe the greatest of all time. What was it like playing with a man like him?
You know, Gordie was something very special. I recall, you know, we'd get on the bench the one time and he'd do something spectacular. We'd come over to the bench and the Gordie was nothing at all. We'd say, Gordie, how did you do that? He said, I don't know. I said, that's the thing to do at that time, isn't it? He didn't know what he did. He was just natural. He's the greatest athlete of any sports I've ever met.
Really?
Yes. There's no question.
Bar none.
Bar none.
Of all the men you've played with, of
Yeah.
all the men you've coached, who
Yeah.
are Hall of Famers,
Yeah.
Gordie Howe.
Gordie Howe was the greatest athlete I've ever met.
Al's playing days were anything but smooth. Stints in the NHL were followed by stints in the minors, and then back to the NHL again. Tough as it was, Al never lost sight of his hockey dream, even though that dream often clashed with the hard reality of professional sports.
What do you learn about yourself as an individual going through that adversity?
Well, I learned you have to accept it. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, we didn't like a lot of the things that were being done at that time, but we didn't have a lot of clout. And we took pride on just being there. And being there meant an awful lot to each and every one of us.
I want to ask you once about losing a cup, 1970, Bobby Orr. What was the first thought you had when he's flying through the air?
I know I was hurt that game. I couldn't play that game, and you know, it's something that you really, it takes you a while to get over it. I know he was a great player, and a great player that finds a way to score goals. And that's, you got to remember that. A great player finds a way, and he found a way to score that goal.
What did he mean to the game?
I think he revolutionized the game. It was I think you saw, when you see Bobby Orr leading the team in scoring, the league in scoring as a defenseman in those days was unheard of. And I think he revolutionized the game. Now the defenseman can skate just as well, score goals just as well as forwards practically. And I think Bobby Orr did that.
The St. Louis Blues put the veteran defenseman to work as their first captain in 1967, a job he held for the next 3 seasons.
Being captain to that team, there were all a bunch of guys that, they were all very good people, and we tried our best to get somewhere, and we did. We ended up in the playoffs every year, except, you know, there was always some team that were better than us, especially Montreal. They were winning like that all the time in those days. But it was really something to be captain of those players, and we had a reunion a number of years ago in St. Louis, and brought back a lot of memories.
Scotty Bowman saw something in his captain and offered Al his first coaching position.
Well, Scotty didn't want to coach anymore. He said he wanted to be general manager. And I said, well, look, I don't know. And so I finished the season coaching. And Scotty and the ownership got in a hassle or something like that. And Scotty went one way and everybody went different ways. But I was under contract. I had to stay. So they named somebody else coach. They fired me. I couldn't do anything about it. But at Christmas time the following year, I was back as coach. So who could figure it out?
What kind of gift was that?
I don't know if it was a gift or what.
With that, it was so tumultuous. You were hired, you were fired, you're hired again. Did you really think that coaching was going to be what you wanted to do?
I really did. After a while, not at the beginning. When Scotty went on a scouting trip, I think he went out west on a scouting trip, he says, you're taking over the team. I had no idea the first game I coached. I had no idea what I was doing whatsoever. We tied. The game ended up tied. We pulled a goalie out or something like that. We tied the game. I don't remember a thing about that game because I didn't know what I was doing. I'll admit it. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. So I studied hard, And I eventually got into really liking this coaching business, and I got involved in the coaching thing.
And then the Islanders came after you in '73,
Yeah.
and you said no.
Right.
Why?
Well, I had a couple of opportunities to go somewhere else, and I said, I don't know. Let me think about it. And Cliff Fletcher was in Atlanta then. We were scouting for Cliff at the end of the year after I got fired in St. Louis. And I didn't know what to do then at the time, and I said, oh my God. So my wife told me, she says, why don't you talk to Bill Torrey again, find out. So I called Bill Torrey, and Bill says, no, we haven't had an opportunity. We offered it to you, and that's it. So Claire couldn't come down, so I went down to New York to have a look at it. I said, oh my God, this is like the North. I can't believe this. It's not like New York City. The island is all bush. The north side is all bush. It's like being at the cottage. So I agreed to go to New York, and I remember Scotty Bowman and if somebody else, I forget who it was now, told me, you're going to be in last place for 10 years. I said, we'll see.
Okay, what'd you see in that team that told you maybe to take the job, or there could be success here? Like you just said, we'll see.
I thought, so what did I get myself involved with? This is stupid, it's crazy. But I think our team got together the second part of the season. Well, we'd lose, but we'd lose by 1 goal, and they knew they were playing a team they're going to have to fight for those points. And I knew right then that somewhere along the line, if we get some good draft picks, we're going to have a good team. And that's exactly what happened.
One thing I just thought of that I should have asked you earlier was your first exhibition game, I believe it was, with the Islanders when you began there. And you were playing, of course, the Rangers. And there was Rangers fans behind the bench. And that's why there's glass at Nassau Coliseum. Tell me that story, please.
My first game at the Coliseum, I go behind the bench and there's no glass in the back. And I see there's 5 guys sitting there with Ranger sweaters on right in the front row. I said, I thought this was our building here. Hey, we're playing the Rangers, they got 5 guys sitting there and they were pounding me in the back of the head, and I turned around, I felt like driving them. I said, I can't do that. So I said to the guy, I said, you got to put some glass back there because I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. So they finally put some glass up there, and eventually, after a couple of years, the sweaters they weren't there anymore.
Although Al won Coach of the Year in 1979, the Islanders could not find postseason success. Changes were necessary, and that led to the acquisition of Butch Goring. Al sensed that his young team needed a calming presence in the dressing room.
Well, we had a very young club. We had a lot of good hockey players, but in the playoffs, when it came down to the nitty-gritty, I mean, I'd walk in the dressing room and the guys had their fingers in their mouth and everything else. Oh my God, what am I going to do? And a coach can't do too much in those days. So we got to get somebody that's going to relax those players. My God, we got to do something. So that's when we made a trade for Butch Goring. And Butchie wasn't much of a player in those days. He had been a good player, but he wasn't in good shape when he came back from LA. But he'd go in the dressing room and the tension would be there, the guys would have their fingers, and he'd come out with a joke and tell them a joke, and everything would relax in there. It was just like night and day. And we went on to win, and he got better, he got in shape.
The addition of Goring was a big step forward, but Al knew he had to do more than change the roster. He had to look hard at himself, make changes to his own style if the club was to continue its climb.
You examine yourself and you examine all the players and you examine a lot of things, especially when you're losing like that. And I know that I used to go in the rink and he'd say, get rid of Al Arbour, don't trade anybody else, get rid of Arbour, get rid of Arbour. That's it, that's all he talked about, in New York. And I changed, I analyzed everything, and we changed as a team. We changed a little bit here, a little bit there, all over the place. And I think it's a little experience we needed just to get over that hump. And we got over that hump against Philadelphia when we got that goal, because we were winning by a couple of goals and they got 2 goals. And it didn't look too promising then. And Bobby Neisman got that winning goal and put us over the hump. And after that, we were nothing to it.
Tonelli coming in with Nystrom. Tonelli to Nystrom. He scores! Bob Nystrom scores the goal. The Islanders win the Stanley
4 years in a row. Talk about that run, because it's a dynasty.
Well, I mean, we had a great team. I mean, he could turn it on. You know, the Nyströms, the Howard, the Tonellis, the Lewis, they kept a lot of the guys. Lewis didn't play, he was in LA then, but they kept a lot of those guys till the superstars, till they got going. They kept Nystrom would chip a goal in, Tonelli would chip a goal in, Bossy would, Trotzy, those guys did nothing. And all of a sudden they'd get going, we were on our way. That's what you needed.
And they apparently have. Here's Gretzky. The last word for Gretzky and Billy Smith. It's over. And the New York Islanders have won their 4th straight Stanley Cup. And in the middle of
You get over the hump finally in 1980. Then you have a run of 4 years. How much more difficult is it to play with a target on your back as opposed to what you had experienced in the late 70s?
That's much easier.
Really?
I think it's much easier. When you're winning like that, in the last year, we knew we were in trouble because the fact that, you know, in those years, we won 4 years in a row, we were in the Stanley Cup Finals. The years, it's a long year, and we had 2 Canada Cups or something at that time. And a lot of our players, the top players, were playing in the Canada Cup. They were worn right out with the, they didn't have enough time to recover. And we were lucky we got as far as we did in the 5th year. I thought Montreal was going to beat us for sure. And we got by them. I said, I can't believe this at all.
Though the Islanders' dynasty would give way to another in 1984, Al Arbour's legacy had long been cemented as a coach as well as a player.
Where'd your philosophy come from? Go back to when you began in St. Louis. Plager actually said, we were playing so horrible, and he chased one of the referees in Philadelphia off the ice, got hit in the head with a beer, and from that moment on, we became a team. Where did this coaching philosophy come from, Al?
Well, I always thought a team is a group of players, and you have to do whatever you have to do to get the team to their final goal. And some players you have to act a certain way, some other players a different way. And I tried to maneuver the players around as much as I possibly could, but everything was meant for the team in the whole. And I did a lot of crazy things, but I thought it helped the team to a certain degree.
Yeah, just tell us a story about having the eggs in the pocket.
Oh, that's one of my players, a defenseman. I put the eggs in the pockets. I put an egg on all the players. And I told him, I said, well, you could go in the corner of those eggs and you come out of there, still they wouldn't be broken. Nobody'd hit you. You wouldn't hit anybody, there's no problem there.
Did the guys like this little trick?
Some of them did, some of them didn't. I know Pat Price, he just from the eggs on I broke the eggs on my head there.
He did not?
Yeah, he didn't.
Did he live to talk about it?
Barely.
85, 86, you retire for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
How come?
I was fed up. I was worn out, physically, mentally, mostly mentally. And I thought I needed a rest, and I didn't think I'd go back to it. And, I think I came back because of Bill Torrey. He says, I think we need you as a coach. He says, can you finish the year out for us? I said, well, you better start looking for a coach right now because I'll finish the year out and that's it. So the year finished out, and I said, okay, well, who's your coach? He said, I didn't look for one yet. I said, well, thanks a lot. That's Bill Torrey for you. He knew how to handle me very well.
Did you know you were done for good, or did you think you were done for good?
I thought I was done for good, yeah. I was worn out.
2 years after retiring, Al Arbour returned to coach an additional 6 seasons with the Islanders. In a huge upset in the 1993 playoffs, the Islanders defeated the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins, who were led by Al's former mentor, Scotty Bowman.
It was very special. I think that rates right on top there with the Stanley Cup, because we didn't have much of a team compared to Pittsburgh. But I think that Kasparaitis and Pilon and Glenn Healy in goal. Glenn Healy made a number of saves, and I think Casper and Pilon scared some of the top players, and I think that's why we won the game. I mean, it's not because, I mean, we had Mullen, not Mullen, yeah, Mullen, I guess, one of the Mullins, watching Yager, imagine that, and Loisel watching Tocchet. I said, oh my God, this is going to be, we used to shift them around all the time, changing on the fly.
With Ferraro, here they come, 2-on-1, Bullock shoots, scores! David Bullock!
It means an awful lot to our team, to me especially, because I thought Pittsburgh had a great hockey team. They won the Stanley Cup the year before. And they should have won it that year, but we managed to get in their way. And we were lucky too, let's face it.
Ted Nolan, then coaching the Islanders, noticed an odd statistic. He saw that Al Arbour had coached 1,499 games with the team. Ted made a suggestion to Islanders owner Charles Wang.
Well, I thought somebody was pulling my leg. I said, what, I don't get this. He said, one more game. I said, what is... So I remember I got a call from the owner of the Islanders, Charles Wang. He says, do you realize how many games you coached the Islanders? I says, no, I don't have a clue. I don't carry that around with me. He says, $14.99. He says, we got to coach one more game, so you $1,500 with the Islanders. So I says, oh, I don't know about that. So I called Ted Nolan. He was coaching the team then. He was a Sault Ste. Marie at the reservation. I called him and I said, look at Ted. I says, you know, I said, I got a call from the owner. He wants me to coach this one game. I said, look, I don't care if the game's in November or May. It's a big game. 2 points is 2 points. You don't have that good of a team. It's going to be close to get in the play. I don't want to cause any problems for you. He said, Al, you're not causing any problem for me because I think I'm the one that thought about it and I brought it up. I said, well, if you want me to coach that game, I will, but I need a lot of help because I don't know one guy from another on that team. Just don't worry about it. Just we'll take care of it. So
were you nervous?
I wasn't nervous. I didn't know the players. That's the problem. I didn't know the players at all. And you know, the game has changed an awful lot. I mean, now it's all skating and circling and the systems they have now. I mean, I was in the coach's room. And they said, you want to see a play? You just push a button and the play comes up. You push another button, there's another play. Oh my God, I said, I couldn't coach today on all that stuff. Unbelievable. I'll never forget the general manager came over to me the next morning. He says, Al, you did a hell of a job last time, but today we got to fire you. Oh God, I laughed about that. And they gave me the papers at home, the pictures and all this, the starting lineup for both teams. And I was very happy that we got Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh had one of the better teams in the league at that time. And they got ahead 2-0. I figured, oh my God, it's going to be 10-0 my first game back. But we managed to come back and win.
Al Arbour finally coached his 1,500th game as an Islander. This night also earned him his 740th regular season win for the franchise that he helped turn into a dynasty. For Al, it was the crowning achievement in a glorious career. 8 Stanley Cups, 4 as a player and 4 as a coach, earned Al Arbour a place amongst the greats of the game.
Well, I think of all the awards I've won, I think the Hall of Fame is probably the greatest one of all. When you think yourself belong in the Hall of Fame is, you know, you did something special. I don't think I did anything special. I did what I had to do. But being a member of the Hall of Fame, you got to take pride in it. I mean, I don't care what it is. You think back and you see all the people that were responsible for my being there, from Sudbury, Ontario, all the way down to Windsor, to Detroit, Chicago, Toronto, St. Louis, all the way. I mean, a lot of people involved in all this, and I think that being in the Hall of Fame means something very, very special to each and every one of us.
Dynasties live here.
And we promise you will always get the very best coverage tailored for your needs. We understand living on Long Island because we do too. We're all Islanders, and if you want Long Island's best team for insurance, go for National Security Brokerage. You'll feel secure with National Security Brokerage. Let's go Islanders!